Hi, everybody. So hello and welcome to this great webinar where we're going to explore the dynamic entrepreneurial landscape of two very vibrant countries, Bangladesh and Cameroon. I'm Julia Charlton, Chair of the Commonwealth Chamber of Commerce and the moderator for today. So today we'll bridge continents and cultures to look at the innovation and resilience that define the startup ecosystems in these two countries. So in Bangladesh, the entrepreneurial spirit is high. I was there very recently, so I can attest to that. And this remarkable country, which has a population of over 169 million, has become the 35th largest economy globally. And this is despite the challenges posed by the pandemic. And Bangladesh still showed exceptional growth. It's got a young, fairly tech-savvy demographic who constitutes 62% of its population. And the country has seen a surge in venture investments, reaching $742 million in May 2022. And the startup ecosystem in Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, has done particularly well, with over 2,500 active startups generating around 1.5 million jobs. So in this surge of digital connectivity, Bangladesh saw a significant increase in internet users, reaching an impressive nearly 70 million in January 2023. And the nation's internet penetration rate was around nearly 40%, underlying the relatively widespread embrace of technology among its population, although I think that rural areas still have some way to go. A recent analysis by Kepios showcased a notable uptick. It showed a growth of 691,000 internet users, which was a 1% increase between 2022 and 2023. And according to Statista, the nation's GDP grew to $460 billion in 2022. And that was an increase of approximately $253 billion since 2014, which underscores the country's robust economic resilience and development. So let's turn now to a rising star in Africa, Cameroon. So Cameroon has a burgeoning startup scene, which is redefining innovation in Africa. And we have with us today entrepreneurs from Cameroon, armed with groundbreaking fintech ideas, represented by Hermes and Nziko. So in January 2022, Cameroon's total population was around 27 million, and that was an increase of 683,000 people, a 2.5% rise from the previous year. And the demographic composition of the country showed an equal split between genders, 50-50 male and female. And economically, Cameroon is set for promising growth. The nation's real GDP is projected to experience average growth of around 4.2% between this year and 2025. The country had over 10 million internet users in January 2022 and a steady increase in online connectivity. Cameroon's internet penetration rate, representing the proportion of the population with internet access, was 36.5% at the beginning of 2022, with a growing digital presence among its citizens. So Cameroon's technological advancement owes much to the escalating tech adoption nationwide. Internet users in the country have surged from 7.5% in 2012 to over 45% in 2023, according to Statista's latest report. And another driving force behind Cameroon's tech boom is its young population, with over 60% of Cameroonians being under the age of 25. So today's discussions will deep dive into some success stories, the challenges overcome and the challenges ahead, as well as the future aspirations of one of the budding startups that we're going to hear from first, Koree. So we're here to witness the convergence of ideas, the collision of creativity, and the birth of new collaborations with the Council of Global Startups in Bangladesh, who brought Rifat's company to our attention. So now we're going to turn to Hermes Nziko, who's a dedicated creator and builder. He has a passion for empowering others to realize their creative potential. And as the head of operations of Cameroonian fintech company Koree, which provides card wallet payment solutions that digitizes merchant payments, and it's been crowned the winner of the 2023 EcoBank FinTech Challenge in October 2023. So the vision for Koree, and I'm sure we'll hear more about this from Hermes, is to revolutionize cash-based transactions, enhancing the relationship between merchants and their customers through innovative solutions. Hermes is also the founder of Becomb Media, a content creation company focusing on entrepreneurship, business, and personal development. He's used his wealth of entrepreneurial experience to help people transform their ideas into meaningful projects. He has a background as a project manager of Active Spaces Association, the largest incubator in Cameroon. And he's managed a diverse portfolio of over 8 projects and successfully obtained grant funding. He's very enthusiastic about supporting African entrepreneurs. He has a Master of Engineering degree in Automotive Mechanics Technology from the École Nationale Supérieure Polytechnique Douala, and he can showcase his expertise in both technical and business aspects. So, Hermes, it's lovely to have you here. Let's move to your presentation about the exciting things which Koree is doing.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. Before anything, I do wish to say that I'll get the recording and your introduction of me. I'll probably just give it to anyone that asks again. It was so well put together, even beyond everything that I sent. So, as everyone has heard from Julia's presentation, I don't think there's any more to add about who I am. It pretty much sums up what I stand for, what I seek to achieve in terms of just personal vision, but also professional vision. And without much ado, we're just going to talk about Koree. So, what is Koree and how did Koree really come about? There are a couple of questions that you probably ask, and I'll get you the answer over the next few minutes. So essentially, Koree sprung from the idea where our founder, which a female-led startup, a female-led and female-founded startup. It's important for me to acknowledge that. While our founder was in Ivory Coast a couple of years ago, she was making a transaction at her local bakery and realized that, well, they're having trouble giving her a spare change in coins, a set of coins. And upon looking around, she realized she wasn't the only person that had that issue. There were a lot more people in her locality, and even not only limited to Ivory Coast, limited to travel for work related purposes. So she was able to appreciate the difficulty when it came to merchant customer transaction and repayment of spare change, and a deep dive in the data that was available online, and she realized that more than 80% of transactions in sub-Saharan Africa is still cash based. So she went ahead to brainstorm, and she thought about an idea that she called Koree. And about the name, it's important to also mention about the name because it's true to our roots, that Koree, and as you would see in our logo, it's what we call I don't know if I'm right on the word cowrie. In French they say un Koree. It's actually what our African forefathers used in the heydays for any transaction. They will collect that, and that will serve as coin. So when she had the idea of putting this solution together, it made sense to her for the name to be similar in pronunciation, and for our logo to look the way it is. Yes. So I've spoken about the problem that she was able to see, and just beyond the spare change, there's also beyond the spare change issue in our region. There's also the problem when it comes down to merchants, where we have merchants spending on average 50 to 100, anywhere between $50 to $100 per merchant. Every merchant spends anywhere between $50 to $100 per year on the black market just to get spare change in order to service their customers. And it will come along with its own host of problems. You know, customer satisfaction problem, inability to retain customers whenever they come to make a transaction for the first time, and they encounter such problems. And we're also able to see even bigger problems arise from that, just when we looked at the digital innovation aspect of those of different merchants in our regions. So we decided to we brought along this solution that we call Koree, and essentially, and on our with our solution that we call Koree, we are bringing a twofold. Currently, we're bringing a twofold solution. On one end, our app is for the daily consumers. Anytime that you want to have a transaction being made with a merchant, we want you to use Koree. Koree would help you create a digital wallet that would allow for merchants to repay to top up your account or your digital wallet of any spare change that you have that you're supposed to get from any transaction. So anywhere between 100 francs to 500 francs. If the merchant doesn't have coins, we encourage the merchants, instead of looking for coins and having problems actually servicing the customers, top up their digital wallets through the platform. The other aspect of this digital wallet is that the merchant is able to get data, to get insight on the customers and their consumption habits at their different stores. The second end, or the second aspect of the Koree app, is really when it comes down to the merchant processing. We call that app Koree Pro. So every merchant that subscribes to use the service Koree is onboarded to that app. And this is the app that every merchant would use to process the transaction. Make sure that each customer, if you have a spare change of 300 francs, they go through that app in order to make sure that you get your spare change. You get your spare change exactly as it's supposed to be, and you can use it again at a later date, right? But upon brainstorming these solutions, we appreciated that it was not enough just to service our clients and their customers with a digital wallet, with an application that allows them to manage digital wallet transactions. And it was important to provide them with extra benefits, added value, something that would encourage them to look beyond the solutions that are currently existing. So on the end of the daily customers of every merchant, you would find that when you use Koree to get your spare change or to process your transaction at the merchant store, you're going to earn cashbacks. I know in the Western world and in Europe also, probably also in some parts of Asia, the concept of cashbacks is something that people are very familiar. But here, I would say that here in Cameroon and in Africa, even in itself, it's a concept that a lot of people have not yet appreciated, and it's actually one of our biggest challenges when it comes down to what we've been doing, what we've been able to accomplish over the last 12 months to educate the population that, hey, when you process a transaction at a merchant store, you're eligible to earn 10% of that transaction as cashback that you can use again in that merchant store, right? So that's one of the benefits that the consumers get when they use Koree. The merchants, they get the advantage or the spare change shortage that is fixed. They get an increased volume of purchasing that happens at your stores. Because if you give cashbacks to your customers and you're encouraging them to come back and to purchase more goods from your stores. There is also this opportunity to get data on their customers, because Koree also allows them to create a tailor-made loyalty program where they're able to get not only data on their customers and their consumption habits, but they are also able to track how every item in their store is being purchased. So they're able to assess exactly based on the periods and based on the regions for those brands that have multiple stores. They're able to assess which stores are doing better in some areas for certain goods, right? So I mentioned earlier, we've worked over the last 12 months because that's essentially when we released our MVP. And in 12 months, we've been able to process over $285,000 on our platform. We have successfully had more than 11,000 people register to use our daily or our customer centered apps. We have 40 merchants that have been onboarded on our network. And across all those 11,000 users, they have created more than 22,000 private wallets that allow them to receive cashbacks and to get their spare change anytime they have a transaction. It's also important to mention that in these 12 months, all our users have been able to earn more than $20,000 in cashbacks. Yes, and so that has been for the last 12 months. When we're looking at the next 12 months, what is Koree, what is Koree really? Because that's where it comes. That's what it's about. It's not about the past, but it's really about the future. We are looking not only at expanding across Cameroon, because currently we have 40 merchants only in Douala, which is Cameroon's economic capital. Over the next couple of months, we are looking to expand nationally to Yaoundé, but also Garra. Those are two very big cities in Cameroon that we've been able to identify that we have a pool of customers, a pool of consumers that are willing to appreciate and to accept our solution. But we're also looking at an international expansion in the next couple of years. Our immediate target is Ivory Coast for multiple reasons, but really the most important one for those that are in tune with the African landscape. You would appreciate that with the African Cup of Nations in January of next year, that it's an incredible opportunity for any business that wants to operate in Africa. And we at Koree, we have been able to see that opportunity. We are looking at that Ivory Coast as a place where we can go and start getting start our wheels running in a way that we wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. So the plan is Cameroon today, Ivory Coast tomorrow, and eventually cover the whole of French or Francophone Sub-Saharan Africa in the next 2-3 years, and go even beyond Africa into the world. And just as a matter of just throwing out there, part of our vision at Koree is not just to revolutionize merchant customers transactions, but it's also to be able to build an ecosystem of financial services for everyday people. To today, and that's really the dream. There are a lot of avenues that we can go in that direction when you take into account the state of the state of financial industry in Africa. The fact that digital banking is just becoming a thing. When you appreciate the idea that there are not a lot of people in Africa that have bank accounts, and that's really why mobile money transactions are so popular. There is a wide field and a virgin land for, so to say, for things that can be done in that space, and Koree wants to position itself in that respect. And yes, we how are we going to get to where we want to be? Today, when it comes down to user acquisition, we are looking at partnerships. We want to partner with key large retail chains in the likes of the group CFRO, the likes that are currently present in Cameroon and very active. We are also looking at even larger Cameroonian chains like the Santa Lucia chain, and also I'll also talk about the Bao chain. Those are large retailers that are very popular in Cameroon, but we're looking on that model to grow in Cameroon, and we'll build on that model to even grow beyond Cameroon. We're also looking at partnerships with regional banks like the EcoBank, with 35 other financial service providers like mobile money service providers like Orange, MTN, and even larger networks across Africa. In terms of user acquisition, we have developed a large number, or maybe not even a large number, but today we are focused on two main ways to acquire users, and that is online target marketing strategies. Essentially, we plan to be on every phone, every app, every website that a Cameroonian visits. He has to see an advert about Koree, telling him about the advantage, the benefits of Koree. The other strategy that we're currently using is to we have a network of on the ground agents. We display them at our various merchant stores, and they are there on an everyday schedule. They help every new customer that walks into the merchant store to understand what Koree is about, how to use the app, and to appreciate the idea of cashback. Yeah, this is what the cashback is. This is how you can request your cashback, and this is how you can use the Koree app on your own. So those really are the main, I would say, the three main strategies that we are currently using and exploiting to make sure that we get to the growth that we have planned on paper. In as regards to business model, we are essentially commission based and subscription based startup. And we have on average, our merchants pay on average $500 per year to use our service. So that's an average, and that amount will vary based on the merchant. The size of the size of the customers that you're servicing would either increase or decrease the subscription fee that you're paying. And we've also charged merchant a certain percentage of every cashback transaction that is handled. Although we say 1 to 5% commission fee on the top up, which is the top up. When we say top up at Koree, we refer to the spare change that is given to the customer via the digital wallet. Although we say 1 to 5% on top up and 20% cashback, these are really percentages that vary based on the merchants on the merchants that whom we on board on our platform, and how the conversations really are broken down over the contract period with us. Yes, and in regards to the team, we are very proud of our team at Koree. It's a young team. It's a young team and a diverse team, not only from Cameroon but from across Africa. There are as many women in our team as there are men, and not only also in management positions. And it's also important for us to know that at our most elite leadership, we have our CEO, who is one of the most forward personality when it comes to mobile money payment in Francophone Africa. She made a name for herself as a COO of Julaya, and previously to that, she was regional manager for West Africa of Jumia Pay. And I would only say that if you have the opportunity to work to partner with Koree, you can look at our team as a testament to the fact that we are driven, we are ambitious, and whatever support you bring to us in whatever form, you can always be sure that it's going to go a long way to it's going to go a long way to make sure that we get exactly to the vision that we have laid out. And so, just before I leave you, it's important to just appreciate and to recognize all those that have already assisted us or supported us to get to the point where we are today. We have active spaces, as Julia mentioned earlier, Cameroon's largest incubator. They continue to support us via the Cameroon Angels Network. We're able to invest in us, supported by the Catalytic Africa Fund of the AfriLabs and the ABAN Foundation or ABAN organization. We also have the support of Orange through its Orange Fab program, which we are currently going through right now. And as it was mentioned in the introduction, we recently won the EcoBank FinTech Challenge, and in that light, we are benefiting from the EcoBanking network, not only at the EcoBank itself, but just its network of fintechs and entrepreneurs and fintech founders and personalities across Africa. So it's important to appreciate all of these organizations, not only for what they have given us, but also for the assurance that they give to future partners, because all of these people on board should also be a testament to the fact that Koree is not a one-hit wonder. We have a vision, we have a plan to go somewhere, and with the support of all these people, and even with your support out there in whatever way it can be, we are going to get exactly where we need to be. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for your time. We're glad to get your questions.
Thank you very much, Hermes, for that information-packed presentation. So now we'll move on to talk about Bangladesh's startup, who's with us today, Social Microfinance, with Syed Rifat Hossain. He's one of the youngest fintech co-founders in Dhaka, with extensive knowledge of digital commerce and research. He's 23. He's on a journey to solve the Islamic finance issues and make it a more sustainable by their initiative. So Rifat, over to you.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor, ma'am. Hey everyone, this is Syed Rifat Hossain from Social Microfinance, Experience Finance as a Service. Basically, we are a fintech company with the vision of providing the Islamic finance with the regular finance company that we're providing. And we are here to create a sustainable employment in exchange for work through sustainable Islamic finance, women empowerment, and the environment-friendly micro businesses. Also aims to make a society with 0% borrower, but 100% of tax, donation, and the Zakat provider. Basic problem we found in today's investment policy. A business owner taking investment from foreign investors or banks in a fixed interest policy. Household members are depositing money in banks and getting fixed interest in the return. The investor or the bank gives the investment to the business and takes the fixed interest in return. On the other hand, the exchange for human resource, the household is taking remuneration money from the businesses, and the household is giving the profit to the businesses by purchasing the goods or the service they are providing from the business, which is not fixed. To create a sustainable environment for the balanced, ethical, peace, justice, and a strong institution and Islamic system, three important elements of the business investment environment. Those are interest, remuneration, and the final profit of the business must be equal. All three components must be fixed and variable. Since it is impossible to fix the demand, supply, and the final dividend of the business, so all the three elements must be variable. And by variabling these things, we will create an sustainable business model. Whenever we go to the market with the social microfinance, we basically found some industry or the market problem in the side of our market. Those are problem of rural economy, the economy problem, the administrative problem, the infrastructure related problem, also the leadership related problem, agriculture related problem, social and cultural problems, also the people related problem that we are facing these days with our finance and other business model as well. Okay. So before knowing what is social microfinance, you must know the some word or some definition of those words. The first word is Zakat. So whenever we hear the word Zakat, it is too much memorable for the Islamic subcontinent or for the Muslims. But for the whole or wide world, the Zakat is one of the five pillars of Islam. These pillars strengthen the faith and the character of the individual and build up the collective commitment and the contribution of those who believe. The five pillars, individually and taken together, provides the foundation for the Islam to flourish as a real commitment to God that inspires believers to strive for prosperity, harmony, and the justice for all. How much zakat or how much we donate as the name of zakat? Your zakat donation should be amount to 2.5% of your total zakatable wealth. Therefore, if your total asset after any debt amount is worth 10,000 US dollar, you have to pay 2050 US dollar as zakat. The next word is Qarrj Hasana. The Qarrj Hasana is one of the beautiful word in the Islam as the lending, because in the Qarrj Hasana is a loan extended on a goodwill basis, mainly for the welfare purpose. The borrower needed to only pay back the amount they borrowed with no interest. On principle, Islam does not allow any kind of interest. Should a borrower encounter difficulty, the lender must extend the repayment time. And the third word is permanent employment in exchange for work. The investor must be in control of the organization or the person associated with the invested money until the moment of recovery of the investor with the return to the investment, and also must be a lifelong partial financial relationship between them. Here, some exchange for work means somewhere in a business there must be someone who need a money for do their business, but sometimes what happens, he take the money for grow their business, but for some unfortunate reason he faces the loss for the business, or he may pay the money next month he can, but for the regular lending company they just come on and say, hey man, just give me back the money. That's not possible that time, he's facing the loss. So we in our third model we will see the all the organizational or all the operational costing, how that happening and how much he can pay back, and it is the employment in exchange for work. For process, the permanent employment in exchange for work will work. First, we will select a location where we can utilize or we can operate our this employment in exchange for work. Then we will select the person who really need the money and who can work as employee of our company, not like the regular employee that we are having. Here, he will do a business, the person perform as an employee. And the investment will go like we will invest 75% as the primary investment and 25% as the risk minimization. In the second run, we will run the business. We will check out how the business will go, how he want to do the business, what can be the pros and cons, and we will monetize him like that. And here we will use a 1/3 business policy. What is 1/3 business policy? In this 1/3 business policy, we will use our 1/3 as an investment, 1/3 as a Qarrj Hasana, and 1/3 as a profit of the 50% of the investor money as a collective capital by the 50-50 as a profit sharing. After the 50% for the employee, we will take 1/3% from the employees as the Qarrj Hasana. And at the end, we will transact will be the concluded based of the consent of both parties. And then the business owner will be the selected person or the employee who will take the Qarrj Hasana, and the owner provide his or her or 1/3% of the profit as a Qarrj Hasana. Here we will take 1% of the Qarrj Hasana will be used to pay the customer interest. Here, what is our targeted customer we focused on? Whenever social microfinance goes to the market, we found who are the basically our targeted customer. Here, all the borrowers and the Zakat payers are our targeted customer. Also, all the unemployed person and who live below poverty line also the targeted customer of us. Also, all the business owner who needs to develop their business, they are our targeted customer. In this total market research, we saw that the current startup ecosystem in the market is valued over than 1.45 million US dollar, and it could reach the valuation more than 10 billion US dollar by the year of 2025. This time we are running our finance as the MVP, and we already tested our market example. Also, we done with some of our plugins. Here we already have our 4 plugins. Those are one Iqra Educational Trust, second one is Al Jahara Driving Training School, third one is Ohi Media, and fourth one is Sony Enterprise. Also, we are working to grow more widely, and we are planning to add more plugins these days. Okay, in this business model, we have multiple revenue model here. Those are profit sharing, also the registration fee, the processing fee, the product sale, the donation, community partnerships, the training and consulting services for Islamic investment, the membership fee, data analytics and insights, micro savings accounts, financial education workshops, social impact reports, also impact sukuk bonds. Here, with the social microfinance, we had a big plan for the businesses. These days, whenever we are sick or we feel sick, that we are suffering for fever or something like that, we just go to hospital for a doctor and they just treat us. But whenever there is a business and the business needs the treatment, there we are planning for a business hospital. The business hospital, where you come up with your business, we will treat your business as our patient. We will find out your targeted customer, your pros and cons, how you can grow your business very well, and we will prescribe you the solution you need. And that's how the Alif Lam Mim Business Hospital will work, a social microfinance co-brand. And the treatment we provide in exchange for money or in the Alif Lam Mim Business Hospital are physical treatment, mental treatment, spiritual treatment, social treatment, and financial treatment. Here, the first one is physical treatment. So first question may be asked that what the physical treatment that we are providing? Here, by the physical treatment, we are saying that sometimes may we set up a restaurant. Okay, so first we have to think, where should I set up my restaurant to grab more merchant? Sometimes we place the restaurant at the wrong place. So here is our physical presence need. In that time, Alif Lam Mim can search the market where the product will run so well and suggest you can set up your business there. By that, it will grow with physical treatment. and as well as with mental, spiritual, social, and the financial treatment. In so Alif Lam Mim Business Hospital, we will identify the problem first, then we will research and analyze the problem, and we will develop the treatment that they need. After that, we will diagnose the business, then prescribe the business what he can do and get the successful, and we will provide a all-in-one business treatment in one shelter. And by that, we will create a sustainable employment in exchange for work. Also, we will increase the Bangladeshi GDP. Also, as well as we will remarkable in the Asia and South Asian subcontinent. Also, the improvement of the business health and the longevity. What is sustainable spiritual treatment of climate change means? That's a very vast question that comes. By the word sustainable spiritual treatment of climate changes, we mean using the term astaghfirullah as the spiritual treatment to combat climate change, to provide spiritual environment purification by the energy vibrance and the frequency. For natural environment purification, social microfinance is adopting a planting program of fruit forests, herb trees, and so on that balance the natural environment. There are employment opportunity for thousands of women in the rural area. Social microfinance has ensured to provision of women instructors to ensure women's driving skills also. Platforms we are operating now. Basically, we already have our website that is under construction. We will launch it as soon as possible. We are operating offline for around 5 years. We have our multiple offices in Bangladesh as well as Chinaida, Dhaka, and so on. And we are working to first expansion. Also, we are working on our app and it will be available soon next year. The impact the social microfinance is providing to the community. We are getting the real dividend from the investment made to companies covered by the sustainable investment policy. As per the policy, they have full control over us. Here, both investees companies and investors are benefiting. Low income people of the society are getting loans at 0% interest to meet their needs for offering Qarrj Hasana through mosques and coordinating borrowers and Zakat. Prayers, all the borrowers and Zakat prayers in the market are expressing interest for the registration with the institution, which will play a special role in earning revenue to the organization. The present impact on the basis of SDG. We are providing 6 impact on the SDG by our present business model. Those are no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, decent work and economic growth, reduce inequalities, peace, justice, and a strong institution. Here, we are looking for the investment around 600,000 US dollar, or you can say 6 crore in Bangladeshi taka. We will use our investment in 30% of marketing and branding, 15% on the human resource or new hiring, also 30% for the service development, 25% for operational cost. Here, the investors, how the investors will get benefited by their investment. The equity depends on the negotiation. The equity reselling period will be 1 year. As social microfinance is gradually becoming a rising fintech startup in Asia as well as South Asia, though the current startup is valued over than 16.5 crore Bangladeshi BDT and could reach the valuation of 82.5 crore Bangladeshi taka by the year of 2025. The additional benefit they will get will the tax benefit, also the long-term sustainable growth, the alignment with Islamic finance principle, also the financial education. Here, meet our team. Here we have Professor Dr. Mahabubur Rahman as the founder and the advisor. We have Mohammad Saeedur Rahman as the chairman of the company. Also, we have Mr. Muid Khan as the founder, vice chairman, and the CEO of the company. We have Syed Rifat Hossain Shuman. This is me as the co-founder. Also, you can see Abdullah Siam as one of the director of our board. Also, Tahira Akhtar Hira, one of the board of directors. Also, Sumaya Khatun. And this is the presentation. So do you have any kind of question? You can ask me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rifat. Well, great to hear all of that detail. And I'm sure we've all learned a lot about Islamic finance, which I have to say I'm not an expert in, but clearly it's very interesting. So there's a couple of questions I can see here from people who are watching. And I think first for you, Hermes, it says most of the apps like these, I don't know if this is correct, are free in other countries. Do you have plans to make yours free in the future, as the fee charged seems quite high? Is that a reasonable question? I'm sure you can answer that.
Okay. Thank you so much for asking the question. So basically, our app is free now, and the fee that you are seeing, that is the processing fee that we are charging. Like our app is free, but someone who just come to us and say that I need the loan on employment in work of change, that time we charge the minimal amount as the application fee, and we announce it as the membership charge of ours.
Okay, thank you. So it's all in the detail, I guess, as to how the charging structures are done. And that's probably the same with your competitors, I would imagine, right? You might headline that you don't have a charge for this, but actually there's a charge somewhere else, because all of these types of apps need to make money, I guess. Yeah. Thanks. And there's a question for you, Rifat. Do you prioritize women and climate-friendly startups when you're making lending decisions?
Basically, first, we just disclose you one thing. We are not a lending company, basically. We are a service company based on the financial services. Okay. There is a small line between a regular lending company and a service-based company like us. We are providing the service of finance with our product. Like when you see our product like Qarrj Hasana, you see the product like Zakat. Here we're not checking any kind of interest, so you can't say we are just lending the money as the nowadays lending company. We are providing the service. By the service, as the question is, SMF do prioritize women as climate friendly startup for loans? Yes, SMF already working with women about some of the project on them. Like in our slide, you already saw that we are working as soil purification project, that we are working as our women can get empowered. Also, Bangladesh is an agricultural country. So we have a huge land for agricultural investment. And what, in the rural area, the woman is the person who is just the main thing, who just grow the fruits or grow the seeds and just go ahead and just do farming. And for the farming, we invest to them to the agricultural sector. Also, you can see the handicraft, we are investing on them. We already talked with some of the women who are doing the handicraft businesses. Also, you can see some of the businesses like the soil made it, like the products like handicraft, like bags and etc. So we are working on that, and we are prioritizing the women in this sector.
Thank you, Rifat. So, Hermes, a question for you. Actually, one of the early deals in my career when I was in London a very long time ago was acting for a English-based bank that was buying a bank in Cameroon from an American bank, and it was quite a funny story because the American bank had been shut out from the premises of this bank. They couldn't even get in it. So when we were saying, well, could you give us representations and warranties? They were saying, no, we don't know. The guy who's running it won't let us in. And that was actually successfully bought by a British bank who did manage, obviously, to get in the bank and run it. But I just wondered if you could comment on the differences between, you know, the banking sector, which has traditionally been actually quite strong but quite foreign dominated in Cameroon, and quite traditional, and what you're doing, and you know what impact you're doing and your sort of companies are making, you think, in Cameroon.
Yes, of course. Like you said, it's true that the banking sector is dominated by a lot of foreign banks, but that there are some local banks that do have their foot, their hand on the pulse. But they are mostly in the forms of microfinances, and that's for multiple reasons. But the biggest reason, I would say, without being an expert, in that sector of the industry, I would say that it's mainly due to how they put it, the policies in place. Currently, the policies in place are such that any initiative that just arises in that sector, Cameroonians have had time of structuring banks that rise up to the standards of what is required, right? But then when it comes down to the whole to the ecosystem and its relationship to the people, how it differs, and why you would see why you see this kind of uproot or growth of multiple fintechs over the last 4 or 5 years. It seems for anyone that has been paying attention, and that even goes to make a research when it comes down to Cameroon. There are so many fintechs in Cameroon, and that's really because the fintechs have seen that, and accurately so, that the banks that are currently in Cameroon do not serve the everyday people. Unfortunately, they are here. They are here to serve I would use the expression, the most educated and the business people. When you consider the fact that a great majority, or a great proportion of Cameroon's population isn't financially situated to have the requirements that banks would put in place, and even when it comes down to things as basic as loans, which are the necessities, probably the most common necessities of everyday people. Banks in Cameroon are set up in a way that if you're an everyday person, say maybe a person living on the monthly, living and generating the monthly income, or the average monthly income that is expected here in Cameroon, you will not have enough to guarantee to a bank that you need a loan. So these banks don't really serve that part of population, and really that's where you see the microfinances come into place. They have a bigger presence in that aspect, but there are still some areas that are lacking, which now the fintechs in Cameroon that now come into place. You have fintechs like Ijara. Ijara, for those that are not aware, they are essential. They are a way of not a way. I can't really do their pitch, do justice to their pitch, but what they do is they assist everyday people to invest as low as 1,000 francs, CFA into the blockchain. So they will take, what they will do is they will take your 1,000 francs, if that's all you can afford. They will take their 1,000 francs. They will go and buy, they will go and invest in bonds, in bond securities, and you would be able to track your investment and to recoup your investment on based on the system that has been built around the blockchain. And they would handle all the complex financial dealings that happens on the other end of things. So you have startups like this that have understood what the population needs and that are using innovative solutions to bring it to them. And those are things that bigger banks like the Societe Generale, the Bank Atlantic, Standard Chartered, and other banks do not currently bring to the population.
Yeah.
And that's really where fintechs in Cameroon are just being creative and innovative.
Right. Thank you. This is a question for both you, Hermes and Rifat. The internet penetration rate in both your countries is relatively high, around 40%. I mean, it depends. And I never quite know what that means, because does that mean that's every single person, or is that household? I mean, some of these figures are a bit strange. But do you think that the growth in Cameroon and say of fintech generally, and for your particular company, and the same for you, Rifat, do you think it's constrained by the fact that in rural areas, mainly, that there's not as much internet penetration, or everybody is not using getting online and having smartphones?
Okay, so whenever you ask that internet penetration in our country, right? And that's why we say that we are operating in offline and online both.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are operating in online and offline both, and this is the challenge for us to come up with the people who is not penetrated on the internet, and we can just introduce internet to them, that here is something, you can use it to get the knowledge of all over the world, and if you need the funding for to do this thing, we are here for you. You need a computer center, you need a data center, social Islamic finance for you, get the data center and get connected with the world.
Right, okay. So you're using the fact that people can do this to encourage them to get online. Do you think there's enough access in your rural areas to people being able to get online? Because, I mean, both your countries have very young populations, so that must be a big advantage in that.
Yes, in Bangladesh, there is a big opportunity, because I think so. Because whenever you see at the freelancing strategies of the Bangladesh is one of the highest rank in the world. Fifth rank in the Bangladesh will be on the freelancing side. That means they are working on the internet already. But when you see at the rural places like Rangamati and etc., you couldn't find the people are connected with internet yet. The problem we focus there is first is the financial, and second is the infrastructural problem.
Yeah.
What is the infrastructural problem? There they have button phone or already Android phone they have, but they don't have the proper use and how they can use the internet for their benefits. They don't know that. And here comes the social microfinance. You know what? Couple of days ago, Bangladesh government has announced some mosques as the smart mosques, the prayer for its Muslims. Okay, there will be around more than 100 mosques all over the country, or more than that. And first of all, we are focusing on all the mosques, and the mosques based on different cities. Some cities in the rural also, some mosques on the rural areas also, and we are focusing on those mosques. And with that mosque, that is our hub. By that hub, we will share the knowledge of internet, and we will set up some of the IT centers. We have the plan of that IT centers on the rural area to develop the rural peoples as they want to learn. As you know, as you are working, the people or the child who is only 16 or 17, he has something craving to do. What should I do now? What can I learn new? And that time, if we come up with the knowledge of user graphic design, you can say web design, you can say farming, if I come up with that solution for them, he will be our customer, he will be our side. Also, we can provide him the funding for what he want to do. Also, we can provide him the knowledge how he can to do, and he can come up with the internet connection. That
Thank you for that optimistic picture you're painting, Rifat. Hermes, what's the position in Cameroon? Do you think how's the internet penetration does it affect the rollout of your business? And do you think perhaps the government is doing enough to roll it out? I know the Cameroonian government's already doing quite a lot.
Yes, they're definitely doing a lot, and even more so in the last 2 3 years, improvements have been done a lot more than in the last 10 years. That's for sure. And it's also true that for our solution in particular, we face challenges when it comes down to the use of internet and just overall, not only internet penetration, but when you mention internet penetration, I also think about access to smartphones and just smartphone literacy in itself.
Yes.
Yes, that has improved, because today in Cameroon, buying a smartphone as basic as it can be is a lot cheaper today than it used to be 6 7 years ago, right? Although there has been a lot of efforts that have been made to make sure that internet is not only accessible but also affordable.
Yeah,
That is something to be talked about it. Although a lot of efforts have been made in those sense, there is still the question and the necessity of making it stable and reliable. That really is the nerve, is the crux of the matter when it comes down to this conversation in Cameroon. We are probably, I can't remember the source of the data nor the accuracy itself, but I remember I saw a chart one time talking about internet affordability in various countries in Africa, and Cameroon is ranked very high in terms of how much you have to pay, to access 1 gigabyte of data. Cameroon is in a really good position.
You're right. That's a huge factor, isn't it? That's really important. Yeah.
So just like I said, I just think it's just in terms of reliability, that's really the work that has to be put on. But that the innovative solutions that companies to service startups like Koree. I would talk of one solution. I believe they call it whitelisting, if I'm not mistaken. So they allow us, Koree, the opportunity to support the cost of using our app. So whenever merchants connect to our app, they do so at no cost to them. Koree pays all the
Kind of like
internet costs.
reversing the charges on old-fashioned phones in my day.
Yes, exactly. So those are solutions that they use to make sure that wherever our solution is used, as long as that service provider accesses that region, we don't have to worry about whether the people there have enough internet or have a reliable internet connection. They will be able to access our service.
That's really interesting. There's a couple more questions in the chat, but let me ask you another one to both of you. Just tell me briefly about whether you face regulatory challenges, or whether, clearly you're both in regulated sectors, being involved in finance in one way or another. Is the regulatory framework clear? Do you feel you have enough clarity and support on that, Hermes?
Yes, I would say on our end, the regulatory network regulatory laws actually quite clear. Mostly because we designed the solution. We designed the solution to fall within the parameters currently in place. So
I mean, that might be more of a challenge when you're rolling out into other countries, right? You're going to be looking at that.
Exactly. So right now we don't have that concern.
Rifat, what about regulation in what you're doing?
Okay, that's a great question that I got. Thank you so much for asking this question. First of all, the regulation. Basically, in Bangladesh, there are a couple of NGOs already working. As you know, the Grameen Bank is one of the biggest NGO of Bangladesh these days.
Yeah.
Also, whenever you look at the social microfinances business model, there is a frictional gap that we don't need a much of licensing or anything as we're providing the services. We just need a small license from the MFI, the microfinancial institution, for lending the money to the businesses as work for the exchange of money as our third business model. Without that, we don't need any kind of regulatory rules at that all. We have to just register our company in the Bangladesh government and that's it. So we have the full support from the regulatory committee as well. And as you know, when we are doing something for the people, it's always back as the positive side for us. And in this between, I want to question a question that was asked, that there is internet penetration and they're using for TikTok or not. That was a
Yes.
question. Yes. So that's a big thing. Thank you for asking the question. And whoever is using the TikTok, he is earning money. By the TikTok, there is some brands are using TikTok as a branding model. And in the time, TikTok is one of the big source for the brands to sell their products. So if the penetration comes and they use TikTok, only TikTok, that's also profitable for the economy because they are coming up with the brand deals and etc.
Very positive point. Okay, are you putting stuff on TikTok to advertise your company, SMF, Rifat?
We have planned to post something on TikTok as well as YouTube and LinkedIn, because I believe whenever I can find the connections, like if I can find a connection in Mumble, I will use Mumble for promotion my business, because whenever I get the connection, I'm doing the business. And whenever it's a business, there is Syed Rifat Hossain. That's it.
I love your enthusiasm. Hermes, there's a question for you about Koree winning an international competition and how helpful are these winnings apart from any cash prize element? And the second part of that question is there any intention to expand into Asia, somewhere like Sri Lanka?
Okay, just reading the question again. Korean recently won an international competition. How helpful are these winnings apart from cash prize?
I guess it's profile and everything else. Does that really make any difference to you?
Yes, I would say the winning these competitions are very, very important. And the cash prize really is just an added
nominal. Yeah. I always think winning's better than not winning, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So it's just a cherry. It's just a cherry on top of everything of everything at that competition. Getting to such competitions and actually being able to come out as champion of those competitions, it opens you first of all not only to the network of that particular competition, because when you have a competition like the EcoBank FinTech Challenge that has been happening for a couple of years now, they have a network not only for EcoBank itself, but of fintech founders and entrepreneurs across Africa. You have access to a network that you can already tap into that. You have access to the ecosystem, to the financial ecosystem of EcoBank that you can always reach out and say, hey, and just because they want to support you and they want to make sure that, hey, we have a good eye, we're able to see that the startup has a future, they are probably going to put everything in place that they can afford to make sure that you go forward. But beyond that, you also have the advantage of getting, and that depends on the competition, you have the advantage of getting onto different scenes, I would say, whether they are national or international scenes, and have eyeballs upon your work and upon you that you probably wouldn't have been able to have in that moment, right? I know a lot of the press that Koree has at the moment. It comes back to the EcoBank FinTech Challenge. Now that we had been doing the work, we had been putting the work, but if we hadn't won that competition, a lot less people today would have been aware of the solution and the capability of what we're doing. In terms of expansion, South Asia, South Asia, and even just Asia in general, is part of our long-term strategy. Certainly, it can be part. It can be even closer, depending on how the next few months or years progress. But at the moment, when we talk about just expanding to Africa, you will understand that we always talk about just our cleaning our backyard, because that's what we can see before going
Yeah, absolutely. You have a huge continent in front of you right now, don't you? Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, I'd love talking to you guys, and there's a ton more I'd love to discuss, but maybe I'll just wrap up because we've already been going for more than an hour. I'll wrap up with a question about where do you see your scale up, in your case, Hermes, in 5 years' time? And Rifat, where would you ideally see SMF in 5 years' time?
Okay, I'll go. In 5 years' time, at the scale at which we are going, I really think that we will actually be beyond Africa. We actually be beyond Africa. We have a unique opportunity here of bringing a solution that executing the right way and having the right people on board. We can actually access markets that are not just limited to Africa. We look also at Asia. We also look at just going and chipping off parts of the European and the Western markets that are already highly dominated by similar solutions.
Cool, that's great. And Rifat, how about you? Where do you see SMF?
First of all, as SMF, the social microfinance, we have a vast of a plan, and in this plan, we have a solution of a payment gateway. We have a solution for one-way payment gateway solution. We have a lending company problem solution. We have some of the business hospital problem solution. And in next 5 years, we are seeing ourselves as one of the biggest company in the fintech era of this world. And maybe we're talking with one of the unicorn of this time in the next 5 years.
Well, that's good. That's great to be ambitious. So, guys, let's check in about a year from now, shall we, and see how we're all doing.
Inshallah.
Okay. So thank you very much. It was just wonderful to hear from this exciting scale up and super exciting startup. Learned a lot about Cameroon and also about Bangladesh and Islamic finance, particularly Jafat, because I really didn't know anything about that before listening to this presentation. And I'd like to thank the audience very much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you again to my wonderful speakers, Hermes and Rifat, wishing your companies all the very best in the future. Bye, everybody.